May I come in?
Siddharth.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Oh,
Good evening, sir.
good evening. Come.
Better good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Please sit down.
Thank you, sir.
Siddharth.
Yes.
Some historical figure with this name.
So Gautam Buddha was also known as Siddharth before his enlightenment.
Acha. Who else?
So only one name.
Only one name you can recall. There is this discussion and debate going on that history should be rewritten. The Honorable Prime Minister has spoken about it. The Honorable Home Minister has spoken about it. Several Chief Ministers also have spoken about it. What are your thoughts on rewriting history?
So history is a dialogue between the present and the past. So when a present generation develops new analytical tools, history would be rewritten. And there are also some lacunas in the present history writing, such as some areas of India, such as the Northeast and the South Indian empires, have been given short shrift. So that should be corrected, and new analytical tools would lead to new history.
Only new analytical tools or findings also?
Yes, sir. Findings also, sir. Archaeological findings. And
so what are some of the new findings? Tell me.
So recently there has been excavation in Kijhawadi in South India, Kiladi. It has
Kiladi.
Yes, sir.
Kiladi. Okay. No problem. Go on. It's okay. Fine.
So the Archaeological Survey of India now believes that the Sangam age may have begun in 800 BC as compared to the current figure given of 300 BCE. There are also excavation in Rakhigadi which tend to demolish the myth of Aryan invasion theory. There are DNA similarities between the Harappan people and the present day people that are located.
Kiladi also does the same thing. Artifacts have been found supposed to be more than 6,000, 5,500, 6,000 years old.
Yes, sir.
Does it or no?
Yes, sir. It also does that. There was a theory that the Dravidian people were Iranian in origin and they migrated to that area. So these theories are repudiated by archaeological findings. And
who came up with this Aryan invasion theory?
Sir, it was prominently by Sir Mortimer Wheeler. He was an colonialist historian and also...
Very good, very good. Okay, what does Senoli tell us?
Senoli also shows artifacts... Senoli also tends to demolish the myth of the Aryan invasion theory. There are remains of chariot which have been found in Senoli, which demolishes the myth that the Aryans came to India with chariot, and before that no horse or chariots were present in the civilization that was prevalent in India.
What does it say about our society?
I'm sorry, sir.
Equitable society, women warriors. Isn't it? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. All right. What can you tell me about the Ahoms? Where did they come from?
So the Ahom kingdom was founded by Sukafa. Historians believe that they migrated from areas which is around South China or Myanmar region.
Not Myanmar, South China. And then?
So they established a kingdom which was called the Ahom kingdom. It existed from the 13th century to around the 19th century when the British during the...
How come they were so successful? Why did they, defeat wave after wave of Mughal attacks? What did they do differently?
First of all, sir, the geographical area of the Ahom kingdom, it was difficult for an invading force to win there. Second of all, their method of organization of clan-based khels and giving autonomy to local generals like Borfukalam, it also played...
You are missing out something. You said something about the terrain. So specific to terrain, you tell me what they did differently. And it's mainly because of this that the Mughals could not beat them or defeat them.
I'm sorry, sir.
No. River warfare.
Yes.
Okay, anyways. What can you tell me about the Battle of Kolachal?
I'm sorry, sir. The Battle of...
Kolachal.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm
not to recall. Okay, no problem. No problem. All right. Battle of Talikota?
So the Battle of Talikota was fought between the Vijayanagar Empire and the combined forces of the kingdoms, sultanates which existed in the Deccan region.
Bahamani Sultanate.
Yes, sir.
Go on.
So at the Battle of Talikota, the Vijayanagar forces were absolutely demolished. It signified the end of the Vijayanagar Empire. And after that, the empire became very weak and it splintered.
When was the war fought?
Sir, I'm sorry, sir, I'm not remembering the exact year. It was in
Okay, roundabout period you tell me.
So it was around the 1550s, 50s. It was in the 1550s.
Good. 1565. Then go on. That's it. You know, recently, the Honorable Prime Minister, 2 or 3 years ago, the Honorable Prime Minister spoke about Aihole, Pattadakal, and Badami. What is the significance of these places?
So the Chalukya rulers, Chalukyas of Badami as they were called, they used to rule from Badami, but Aihole was also once their capital, and Pattadakal. These have the splendid Chalukya temples located there.
Acha.
Pattadakal is considered the crown rubies of Chalukya architecture, and the Pattadakal group of monuments is also UNESCO World Heritage
Very
Site.
good, very good, very good. It is also said to be one of the major schools of temple architecture in the country. This is where the Visara and all the other styles came from. What are the styles of temple architecture?
So there are three types of temple architecture: the Nagar style, the Dravid style, and the Vesar style.
One line about each?
So the Nagar style of temple architecture, they are differentiated by the type of vimans or the roofs or the superstructure that they have over the Garbhagriha. In the Nagar style of architecture, over the Garbhagriha, the viman the shikhar is like a curvilinear structure. It is like this. Whereas in the southern style or the Dravid style, the shikhar is like a pyramid, as we can see in the Brihadeshwara temple. Whereas the Vesar is an hybrid.
Who built Brihadeshwara temple?
So it was built by Raja the Chola emperor. It is also
Which
as
Chola?
the Raja Rajeshwar temple. Rajaraj.
Raja Chola 1, 2, 3. Which one? Okay, no problem. All right. 3 women-centric schemes that have changed the lives of women in our country.
So first of all, it is the integrated child development scheme that was launched in 1970, and the Anganwadi structure, they have improved the life of women.
Okay, very good.
Secondly, sir, it is the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao Yojana, which has helped to improve the sex ratio of women.
Very good. Next.
So there is also a scheme for adolescent girls.
Don't know the name.
It is known as the scheme for adolescent girls.
Achha, that's what it's called. What about Swachh Bharat Abhiyan?
Yes, sir. Swachh Bharat Abhiyan has also done a lot to improve the lives of women.
Okay, no problem. All right. Going forward now. Who is India's best friend?
Sir, in terms of nations.
In what other terms can it be? Okay, any term that you understand, you tell me. Who is India's best friend? Whatever you understand from this.
So India's best friend historically after independence is Russia.
Okay.
Because they have helped India at very critical junctures, like during the 1971 war.
Accepted. Final question to you. 2047, India at 100. What is Siddharth's vision for India?
So first of all, politically there should be a more deepening of democracy, with the marginalized section coming to the top, having tribal prime ministers, etc.
You already have a president.
So it would be good if we have a prime minister as well from the tribe.
Okay, go on.
Second of all, sir, economically, India has the potential to be the largest of the world economies, or the second largest of the world economies, and a leader in technological development and economic policy making, etc. Thirdly, culturally, India could have regained its cultural superiority that it had over the world. The cultural developments of ancient India, of the medieval India, they could be again made a core of Indian culture, and they could be expanded in the philosophical development, etc.
Okay, all right, thank you. On a platter.
Your father has been a journalist. These days it's very tough to survive as a journalist. What is your opinion?
So journalism in today is under threat from a large number of sources. Recently, a journalist was mowed down in Maharashtra. There are attacks on journalists by vested interest. India also ranks low in freedom index, but present situation is also conducive to the development of journalists. Citizen journalists are using YouTubes and social media as a channel to progress further, and opportunities in journalism have also increased. So it is both positive and negative aspects.
Opportunities, can you further elaborate?
So first of all, sir, earlier print journalism was limited to the English newspaper, but now regional newspapers, local news channels, even in the TVs, there were only monopolization of the TV journalism by few channels, but now YouTube and social media have given opportunity to local level journalists, local language speakers to also enter journalism.
Okay. So you feel on the overall thing, India, I mean, a journalist's career is not a bad career.
But I find it a very good career because
Very good, very
yes,
good. Now, these days, many of these large tech companies are laying off very high number of employees. In fact, as many as 10%, 5% of the employees they are laying off, giving them the pink slip. What do you think? They have made a wrong assessment of their business requirements? Is it fair to those employees who are being fired?
so during the pandemic, there was a shift from the offline to the online. During those periods, tech companies like Amazon, Google, they hired at a remarkably large pace. They hired a large number of employees. But since then, the online bubble has burst somewhat. So now their revenues and their works are decreasing. So they are laying off. So that was a misassessment during the COVID phase that is leading to layoffs now.
Now, here I take a call on your word which you use, misassessment. Now, should not the CEOs of these big companies be also held accountable for such a phenomena impacting so many human lives and their family members?
The CEOs of big tech company like Sundar Pichai, etc.
I'm not taking names.
They have said that there was misassessment, but the legal regime that is applicable to the tech companies, like the fixed term employment, it allows them to lay off workers.
Yeah, it
during
does
that time.
allow them, but should they also not be held accountable by the board in some form or the other?
Yes,
It
sir.
can be any form. It's not that they are also laid off, but then perhaps there can be a dent in their salaries or whatever it is. The board can take a call on it. What is your opinion?
So yes, there should be some mechanisms in which a misassessment that leads to loss of livelihood for thousands of people, there should be some action based on those things.
Okay, Siddharth, the budget has been announced nearly 10 days back, on the 1st to be precise, and today we are on the 10th. What has the budget done for the agriculture sector? Can you tell me in specific terms?
So first of all, the budget has increased the agricultural credit target to around 20 lakh crore, in which credit would be available to farmers at a easier rate. Second of all, it has created an agricultural accelerator fund for funding innovation in the agricultural sector. There is also a specific schemes for uh, production of plants.
Crop diversification, horticulture.
Yes, sir. It was a scheme for crop diversification and agriculture. Fourthly, sir, the schemes for the agricultural sector such as PM Kisan, etc., they have been continued.
Two things. One is that the fertilizer subsidy has been substantially reduced. Don't you think that is not a very happy thing to do? Fertilizers play a very important part in agriculture production.
So the fertilizer subsidy has been reduced from the previous year's budgeted expenditure because the rise in the fertilizer subsidy in the previous year was due to international factors. Due to the Russia-Ukraine war, the price of the elements included in fertilizer production like potassium, sulfur, etc., it increased. But now as the prices are down, the government would bear lower burden, but it would not lead to reduction in fertilizer availability to farmers.
There is another factor as to why the fertilizer subsidy. You are right there, very much right, what you said just now. But there is another factor because of which the fertilizer subsidy has been cut down. What is that factor?
I'm sorry, sir.
The government is taking steps to prevent leakages. Soil map. Is there any connection to reduction in fertilizer usage?
I'm sorry, sir. I do
You
not know
can't
exactly.
visualize a connection between doing soil. What do you call that? Soil mapping, no?
Yes, if the usage of soil health cards would increase,
Soil health cards.
farmers would definitely use lower amount of urea, which is a major component of the fertilizer.
Exactly, that's what I meant. So it's tightening the leakages. Achha, now in the budget, the outlay for MNREGA has been again substantially reduced from 89 to I think 63,000 crores. What do you have to say to that? Because that's a very important social welfare, social security scheme.
So MG Narega is a demand-driven scheme, which is the backbone of rural economy. Its outlay has been reduced, but it has been compensated by other schemes. For instance, the outlay of PM Awas Yojana has been increased substantially. So if the outlay of PM Awas Yojana rural increases to around more than 50,000 crore, those people who are dependent on MG Narega, they would get employment in the building of rural houses, such as mistri, cement workers, etc.
But those are semi-skilled people, na? Doing a construction of a house, you require semi-skilled people, skilled people. In fact, skilled people are required, not even semi-skilled. Not everyone in MREGA were skilled or semi-skilled. Can such outlay for such schemes substitute for outlay for MNREGA?
So the increased allocation for PM Awas Yojana rural would definitely shift some category of workers from dependent on MG Narega to PM Awas Yojana rural. Also, sir, it is a demand-driven scheme, and it is seen in the previous year also that the actual expenditure was more than budgeted expenditure in the previous 3 years as well. So if the demand for the scheme continues as it was during the pandemic year or the post-pandemic year, so allocation could be increased later.
Okay. Where do you think the Ukraine crisis is leading to?
So at present there seems to be a stalemate in the Russia-Ukraine war, with the Russian forces holding a large swath of area in the eastern and southern region and not being able to progress further. It should end only in dialogue and discussion, because Ukraine as an independent nation cannot easily cede its territory, and Russia, since it has gone so deep into the war, it would not be feasible to believe that their forces would lead that. So
now, who are the stakeholders in this? Who are the major stakeholders?
So the first major stakeholders are the people of Ukraine and the people of Russia. Secondly, the government of Ukraine and the government of Russia and their respective armies. Thirdly, in a globalized economy and a globalized world, every nation of the world is a stakeholder.
That is, I agree, and that's a very correct way of projecting it. But then there are direct stakeholders also, those who have a real stake in the entire game. That way, though, I can say Africa has a stake. But don't you think that the stake of Africa is different from the stake of, say, France? So who are the prominent stakeholders in the game?
So after Russia and Ukraine, the European Union and the countries of Europe, particularly Poland, etc., which believe that the Ukraine crisis could be a starting point of another round of invasion which could threaten them. And then even USA is an important stakeholder, because the EU and NATO based security architecture that the US developed after the Second World War is under threat.
Do you think who in your opinion provoked the war? Is it Putin, or was it Ukraine? Was it Europe? Was it USA? Who do you think started the war?
So as we study history, we see that any event is preceded by a large number of factors. Any single factor cannot be said to be the sole and the determinant factor.
Okay, I give you 1 or 2 minutes max. Very briefly, point-wise, tell me all the factors. I agree with you, totally agree with you. It's not one factor. But can you tell me, in your assessment, what are the factors behind the Ukraine war?
So the first factor can be seen as Ukraine's closer relationship with the West. Ukraine trying to be member of EU and NATO. Second of all, the dissolution of the Soviet Russia.
Okay.
It was not an unending process. So Putin as a leader wants to undo some of the negative impacts of the dissolution as he sees it, such as ceding back Ukraine. Thirdly, there were people in the eastern area of Ukraine who were pro-Russian in their sympathies.
Okay.
So their pro-Russian sympathies and their need for autonomy also played an important role in this matter. Fourthly, sir, the EU also played a role in making the crisis real by developing closer relation with Ukraine, by kind of opening the way for granting membership of the EU to Ukraine.
What about USA?
Yes, sir, USA also played a role in provoking this Russia-Ukraine
So
conflict.
you are of the opinion that Putin was not responsible for the Ukraine war.
So, in my opinion, Putin also played a remarkable role. He wanted to undo what he considered to be the injustice of the 1991 dissolution of Soviet Russia and the ceding of Ukraine. So, Putin's ambition, his need to be more powerful in his own country, project a powerful image as a
Okay, I'll
dictator.
put it a different way. It will be wrong to say that Putin alone was responsible for the war. You agree with that?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Siddharth.
Siddharth, we don't have your DAF one. So, how many attempts have you made at the civil services?
So, 4 attempts.
And this is your first interview?
So, this is my second interview.
So, in the first, how many did you get?
So, 149 marks.
And you missed by how much? A call?
So, around 30 marks.
30. So, let us hope that this time you get much more because you are much better than what your marks suggest. I would put you in the easily in the 170, 185 range.
Thank you, sir.
And final question, who's Jack Santoli?
It was my niece. She used to see a cartoon when she was a child and used to say me Mama Jackson Tolle.
So how did it's kind there?
Jack Santoli.
Email address.
Email address. So, Siddharth, what is this Karm Yogi mission which we've been hearing about?
So the mission Karm Yogi is a skill development and capacity enhancement mission for administrators and bureaucrats in India. Under this, there is a dedicated platform, IGOT Karm Yogi, and there is an emphasis on skill development of government workers.
So, what's the full form I got?
I'm sorry, sir.
Integrated Government Online Training. And this mission has 6 pillars. Are you familiar with those pillars? No.
I'm sorry, sir. I would read more about it.
So those pillars, like policy framework, competency framework, institutional framework, like that. Now, disruptive technology. What is meant by disruptive technology?
So disruptive technologies are those technologies which would in the coming 10 or 20 years would disrupt the global economy at a remarkable stage, such as artificial intelligence. It is believed that the artificial intelligence in the coming 10 to 20 years has the potential to change the economic structure of the world and economic manufacturing, etc.
Why are you restricting it to the oncoming 10 to 20 years? Would you say that this is an example of disruptive technology?
Yes, sir. The smartphone is...
So any technology which completely disrupts the market, right? That would be the definition, right? So what are the kind of things it made obsolete? Can you give me some idea? What are the technologies it made obsolete?
So the smartphone. So the smartphone has made radio obsolete.
Yes.
People can view music on that. The smartphone, telegraphs, it has made it obsolete. Now people can instantly communicate with each other via this medium. It may in the future make the TV as well obsolete.
No, it has already made TV obsolete. You can get TV channels on this. It has made the watch obsolete. It has made the calculator obsolete. It's made the camera obsolete. It's made the laptop obsolete, right?
Yes, sir.
So many things, right? Okay. There's a saying in UP and in other northern states that the country is run by the PM, the CM, and the DM. So the PM is elected, the CM is elected. Is it time we should elect the DM? Maybe have an election to the CEO, Zilla Parishad, and make him ex officio DM? Is there a case, you think?
So as a principle of separation of powers, policy making and some legislative functions should be different from executive function. The CEO Jila Panchayat is responsible
Zilla Parishad.
to the Jila Parishad or the district council. So instead of making the post of DM or CEO Jila Panchayat electable, more powers should be delegated to the district councils and the district panchayats so that they can have better superintendence and control over the DMs.
What would be the drawbacks of such a scheme further? Suppose this decision is taken that yes, we will go ahead with this. What would be the other drawbacks which you can think of?
So, sir, the drawbacks of making the post of DM electable.
Yes.
So, first of all, it violates the principle of separation of powers.
That we've been through.
Policy.
Other points? Would you like to make some other points?
So, the main point is that, sir, by making policy making and execution into
Okay, we'll
one
come
hand,
back to it in the feedback. PTGs, they have now been transformed into PVTGs. What am I talking about?
so the particularly vulnerable tribal groups.
Yes. So PTGs, what is the full form?
So I do not remember the full form.
Primitive tribal groups. How many of these particularly vulnerable tribal groups do we have?
So, I'm sorry, sir, I do not remember the exact figure.
Okay, doesn't matter. Some features, distinguishing features of these particularly vulnerable tribal groups, are you aware?
So there are some features such as they are concentrated in a given locality or geographical areas, economic and social backwardness as compared to other tribes.
Okay, I think you need to revisit this because Hebar Commission had given a set of 4 characteristics. You need to revisit that. Thank you, Siddharth.